Hello, friends. It's so great to be with you today, and thank you for tuning in. I have a guest with me today that I'm really excited to introduce to you, and we're going to let her introduce herself. But I want to just tell how I met Abigail. She and I are both managing directors. She is in the Knoxville, Tennessee chapter with eWomen Network. And so I think we met earlier, or really got a chance to get to know each other earlier this year at the Platinum Summit in Newport Beach, California. And one thing I love about Abigail is she loves good food and good restaurants. So
Thank you.
so I knew instantly that we were going to be good friends. She invited me to go out to dinner with her and another friend of ours, and we had such a great conversation. And I had a chance to get to talk to her in Dallas again. And after that, I was like, I have to have her on the podcast because we have these really rich conversations about marketing and sales that I think would really benefit all of you listening. So, Abigail, please introduce yourself to the audience and then we'll dive right in.
Oh, the question is always how far back do you want me to go? But I am
Yeah, because you have
Abigail.
some really great stories of the early years, which I'm going to
Yes,
ask you about
yes.
that in a little bit. So,
Yeah. Okay. I'm Abigail Tiefenthaler. I'm known as a leverage and launch strategist. I work primarily with female coaches and consultants. And I have a business partner whose name is Tammy Crea. She lives in Minnesota. I live in East Tennessee. And we create marketing that drives sales. So it's a very strategic type of marketing that helps lead into more sales conversations. And the thing about, I always say I'm a one trick pony because I've done marketing, really client getting my entire career. The first 15 years in corporate and then the last 26 as an entrepreneur. So we understand the marketing and sales conversation probably better than most.
I love that. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you to tell us your story of how you got into this work, and because you have a really great story, you were kind of born into it. So tell us
I
that
I
story.
was like, there's a lot of DNA in me that's all marketing related. My mother actually worked at BBD&O in New York until she had me, and my dad was at BBD&O as well. And then after my second brother was born, my mother started a marketing consulting business out of the house.
Wow.
So I grew up just immersed in the marketing world. My dad was involved with products that we use today, the launch of them, and my mother focused on fulfillment. So they had a lot of clients between them, and my dad would refer clients to my mom would refer clients to my dad. So it was a lot of dinner talk around the around it. And I when I was in high school, my guidance counselor asked me, he goes, "Are you going to college?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go to college." He goes, "What are you going to go for?" And I looked at him like he had seven heads because I just couldn't imagine doing anything other than marketing.
Yeah.
So today I usually will say, if there's somebody out there who's been doing this longer than I have and has, the breadth of experience, because I've worked in advertising, I've worked in marketing, I've worked in direct mail, I've worked in promotion, I've worked on the client side in product management, and then stayed abreast of, what's happened since social media and the internet have really taken over. I always say, bring them on. I'd like to meet them. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm a
love
one
that.
trick pony.
And I
Yeah.
love that perspective because, and this is what I tell my clients all the time is that there are certain things about marketing and sales that have never changed. Like there's certain fundamentals. Yes, the tools that we use have changed, but the fundamentals have never changed.
Exactly.
So I would love to hear from you. Like, what do you see as those fundamentals that
Well,
you love to teach on?
the fundamentals are the strategy, the structure, and then the paths to the tactical implementation. I think
Mm,
most people mistake strategy and tactics because the words are misused. And all of that deep work that goes into helping identify the audience, the message, the offer, the path, the overall, ground path is done in the strategy development. The research is all done. The validation, the testing is all done in the strategy.
Mm,
And in my personal perspective, I think what's happened today with so many people going into entrepreneurship and starting their own business is that they want to get it out there so quickly that they often will skip those steps because they feel they can navigate their way through it. And that's a huge challenge because number one, they don't really know how to navigate through it. So they don't go deep enough to ask the question 17 different ways to understand at the root what they're trying to convey. And then they're trying to identify the steps they need to do. And they often miss the small nuances that are discussed in the strategic part of the business. I mean, I have it easy because I'm the strategist on the team, right?
mhm,
I'm that big picture and I want to make sure everything is aligned where Tammy has invested tons of time and lots of dollars to really understand the nuances of tactical implementation. So
mm.
that's, the that's the I think really how what's often missing and what the most fundamental part of marketing is understanding the strategic questions that you need to be asking.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say now is like your zone of genius? Like what part of this of your work do you absolutely love?
Oh, I like a lot of it. I mean, I've been one of those few people that have never really felt like I've worked a day in my life because I've always pretty much done what I'm good at. And it's about helping a person, a business pull out their secret sauce. It's
Mm,
about helping them understand that if they stand in the power of them, whatever that power is, the confidence, the courage, the ability to be consistent, the lack of questioning their why just goes away.
mhm,
All of the fears about making an offer and getting themselves out there and being visible and developing those relationships, they just all kind of happen naturally. So really getting to the root of answering those questions, who they are, what they do, why they do it, who they do it for, and why they need it. Because oftentimes nobody's really thought about it on their own. They think they've thought about it or they've really thought about the big picture, but getting somebody to hone down and say, I understand now why it's so critical to especially if you wanna be doing things virtually, right?
mhm,
In the old days, we would meet somebody at a chamber meeting, or we would cold call, or we would be speaking at an event and at a conference, and we would get to know people, and they would see how we talk to other people. They would see maybe we would meet them at a church or in on a soccer field with our kids. Like, they would see who we were and get to know us.
mhm.
And we'd have multiple conversations that you don't even know you're kind of having, right? That's the beauty of that in-person relationship building. Or
Yeah.
even if in the old days of cold calling, you'd pick up the phone, you'd ask to talk to the marketing director of a company and you'd say, "Hey, I'd love to help you. Can you give me an idea of what's going on?" But that would happen over a period of time and they take your call and they get to know you. Today, you are dealing with a very cold, very cold, and somewhat cruel internet world, right? Where your first point of contact could be an email, it could be a DM, it could be a social media post. And now, that you only are seeing a small little snippet of who that person is.
Yeah.
So it can to me that's been the fundamental change of why sometimes we don't go deep enough in the strategy is we're always again trying to react,
Mhm.
to that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there's so even more noise out there that people are constantly getting bombarded with, right? That we have to consider as marketers and helping people to kind of break through that.
Yeah, that's why we have to be disruptive. We have to be authentically disruptive.
Ooh, I
We
love that.
we really have to, and that's where this understanding of who we are, the problem we solve, and the people we work with, we have to be authentically disruptive. I truly remember back in, New York City advertising in the 80s, and I I was always in business development. I was always the person that was willing to pick up the phone and cold call. And I would have, somebody say to me, "Well, how many times have you reached out?" And I go, "Oh, I've reached out 3 or 4." Stop, because now you're hounding. And I was smart enough or intuitive enough, I'm not quite sure which, to know, "Oh no, after 3 times they're just learning my name." So today that is multiplied, I don't know, by tons. I don't
Yeah.
really know what the numbers are, right? So that when people talk about follow-up and they talk about consistency and they talk about reaching out, we will tell a client when we're working with them that we want an 80 sequence nurture email,
Wow.
80 nurture email sequence. And they'll be like, what? Well, with AI today, that's not really an issue. But because just being there 6, 8, 10 months later, your email's gonna get noticed because all of the sudden you're the one that's consistently in their inbox if they
Mhm.
haven't unsubscribed, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
that 3, in my opinion, has now gone to, 30 or 40.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love to teach that too around email marketing. It's like, it's okay if not everybody opens every email that you send them. They're
Right,
still seeing your name pop up in their email in their inbox every Monday or every Friday or whatever it is. And
right.
it creates that trust.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think there's any better media that can be used other, be like, I still think email is a phenomenal way to ultimately get clients in when you're in there for the long haul,
Yeah.
and to be the same, and to show up and, play with your subject lines, and be short and then be long, and, mix it up a little bit. But
Mm,
we really do need that many touch points. I mean, not
mhm.
necessarily 80. People will say, "Oh, it's 12 to 15." And I'll say, "No, it's probably more like 30." Because
Yeah.
you're right, that noise, you've got to stand above it,
Mhm.
or rise above it, I should say.
Yeah, and I think we often, as entrepreneurs, are thinking about our goal this month or this quarter, but really we have to be thinking about the long game. And that's where that 80 comes in because you're like, we're in here for the long haul. We might not get this person, to reach out or respond to us and engage with us this month or not even next month, but I have a mentor of mine that talks about the 3-year buy cycle. Like we're thinking about nurturing relationships now for people that aren't even going to buy for another 3 years, possibly.
Exactly, because you don't know where they are in their decision-making process,
Hmm.
and it's absolutely true. We had a client come in a couple of years ago, and she said it was on the 53rd email, and she said, "I feel like I know you,"
I love
because of
that.
that conversation that we were having one way with her, where she got to get an idea of our sense of humor and, what was important to us.
Yeah.
So, but it's absolutely true.
Yeah. So, with all of those touches, how do you recommend thinking about them? Because we know we're not going to be like sell, sell, sell on every single one. That long game is like, it's a relationship building. So, how do you recommend we build those relationships?
Part of it is really a little custom to the client, right?
Mhm.
We've worked with clients that don't mind sending out an email a day or 3 emails a week, and others who are like, "No, I don't even want it once a week."
Mhm.
So the paths are often a little different. We're all walking at slightly different paces, if you will.
Yeah.
And the the process within the email or social media posting is to give them enough information so that they understand that problem isn't going to go away on its own. until they address it. Whether they address it with us or whether they address it another way,
Mhm.
we have to remind them of what they're resisting. And we use case studies, testimonial, mini trainings, just short little notes. We follow up to an opt-in series. But again, part of the importance of creating a good, product launch, right? A campaign to support a launch
Mhm.
is that you have to know ultimately where you want them to go. You have to
Mm,
know the thing that in a perfect world they would be purchasing or working with you to solve, right? That problem. And
yeah.
then everything gets backtracked from that. So you now have your lead gen piece that could be a conversation that goes into some type of freebie. And then over the course of time, you could have a workshop. You could start offering a live, whether it's free or whether it's low end, low priced, just to
Mhm.
get people to say, well, you know what? I see what she's like on paper, or maybe I've seen pictures of her or whatnot. I now want to, how is she going to interact with me specifically?
Mhm.
How are we going, how does she approach this problem from, the way she solves it?
Mhm.
So I think I'm answering your question in
Yeah.
that the path is a little bit different for everybody, which is one of the reasons why I don't think marketing can be templated. I think it's really hard for somebody to pick up a template and go, "Oh, I can run with this." It's not an accounting system or an inventory system, right?
Right.
It's, you have to understand not just what you're trying to accomplish, but who you are trying to accomplish while you're trying to accomplish. And then what's the buying cycle, the buying behavior of that prospect?
Yeah, I think that's so important. I love that. You can't really template marketing. I know all those people that have downloaded, templates are going to be like, darn it. But
Well,
I really agree though.
yeah, I mean, when they get to a certain level of savviness or sophistication and they understand, the templates can be helpful because they will be good sources of inspiration. But
Yeah.
I just don't think marketing is plug and play.
Yeah, because it really is about creating a relationship and it is about your energy and the client's energy. And I mean, especially for the people, the type of clients that we're helping, the trust-based, service-based businesses, it does have to be more personal.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you.
And so on that note, it brings up to me kind of a new topic around AI. I know you mentioned AI earlier, and where do you see or what are your thoughts around personalization and AI and how that kind of all fits together?
I'm excited for it. I mean, for the person that I'm the teammate that's always resistant to change because I'm like strategy never changes. I don't need to worry. But I think AI is a game changer. And I think the automation, some of the platforms that are out there have just helped transform business. I go back to my early days as an entrepreneur when I was building a seven-figure business. And I had some of this stuff been around, I don't know what I could have accomplished,
Right.
because I wasn't a one-person show. I was a one-person plus automation show. Everything I did was manual. I did all my phone calls manual. I did all my record keeping manually. I did all my follow-up manually. It was one off, right? So I didn't do email sequences and things like that. So to me, I think AI is great. The challenge with AI is learning how to work the prompts and then getting it to really understand the voice of your prospect. Yeah,
Mm,
your voice and then what the prospect needs. So that's you still need experts who are helping you navigate that because they just understand the technology better.
yeah. It really is a game changer for sure. So, in talking about automation, like how are you using that as the secret sauce in your marketing campaigns?
We do a lot of cold outreach and we, have identified different platforms that work better than others. So it's been a testing year, for the most part of finding the platform that LinkedIn doesn't want to knock, put you in jail for. It's finding the one that allows you to go a little bit deeper, beyond first level or second or third level contacts. But how do you borrow audiences, and how do you use LinkedIn to identify email? And there's, I mean, some of the stuff has been out there, but the tools have become more and more sophisticated.
Hmm.
So I think that's one of the things that's been a little bit of a game changer for our business specifically, is again Tammy investing all of this time and to understand, well, if I do this and this and this together, I now have, more reach, I've got more depth, I've got more, I can be more specific in the audience I'm targeting. So it's kind of a little bit like the Facebook ad world, where if you just go and use the insights, you're only going to get so far. But a good Facebook ad expert knows how to uncover more ways of pinpointing,
Hmm.
and being more specific in the audience, and the where timing, and all of those things that come to play in the online world.
Hmm. That's cool. So you mentioned LinkedIn. Tell me how you're using LinkedIn, or how you found LinkedIn to be effective.
Well, I think cold outreach is one of
Okay.
the ways we use LinkedIn. We use it to scrape emails. We use it to increase visibility and increase connections, because then we can invite them to events. I mean,
Mm,
LinkedIn events can be very effective. We can borrow other audiences. So if you have, hypothetically a life coach that does not have a huge reach on LinkedIn, but there is another life coach that has a bigger reach and does what you do, you can, kind of bar, and people have done that for years, right?
yeah.
So you can do that authentically, of course. So
Yeah.
that, but those are some of the things. And then I guess to go deeper, you'd have to talk to Tammy. So again, remember, I'm the big picture.
Right. That's Tammy's zone of genius.
That's her zone. That is truly her zone of genius, because it is not mine. But I know I mean, everything we do is automation. We 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 come up with the idea, and then how do we implement it? And what are the tools that are best used to implement it? And that's what marketers do, right? I
Mhm.
mean, the old days of marketing, a company would create something and then they would bring it to an agency and go, okay, what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Right? My dad was a part of helping, I think it was DuPont, create a marketing department. Like, they didn't have marketing departments, back in the 50s and 60s. You had people who sold, but then to understand the nuances of how do you deal with shelf space, and how do you deal with merchandising, and how do you get the sales team on board, right? All of those things now translate into 2024. You still have a lot of little pockets that have to be addressed.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that again is another reason why you have an entrepreneur who's trying to do it. They go right to selling it, as opposed to really understanding, well, wait a minute, if I sell it this way and I have to deliver it this way, my messaging has to be this way, right?
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure that out on their own, and they're not easy puzzle pieces to put together because they're all test based.
Right. It's all an experimentation. A
Yeah.
little
Marketing.
science experiment.
All marketing is research, is what I say.
Yeah, and testing and changing things up. So, what do you see from your perspective as the biggest challenge with marketing and sales today?
Well, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about some of the challenges. I think there's really not a true understanding of what marketing is. I mean,
Mm,
again, marketing is really a research based discipline. And it's about asking questions that you have to go deep enough to understand the response, and asking that question again and going, why is this important? Why is this important, to get to the root of it? So I think that's part of it. Is there's, without using the word, like every entrepreneur needs an agency. every entrepreneur needs somebody who understands marketing. And that's not always the case. And here's the thing, there are corporate, people who come from corporate who are building businesses, and they may say, well, I know what the marketing team does, but they know what the marketing team does from the weekly roundtable conversations. They really don't understand all the nuances to it, number one. I think number two, there are so many experts out there that are they're not subject matter experts, they're skill set experts.
Mm,
So people will buy a Facebook ad expert, but they may not be ready for Facebook, or they may not be ready for ads, right?
yeah.
And they will buy an email solution, or they will buy a course creation solution, and they don't really know what they need. So they're still buying out of order, and they're still buying programs, or they're buying something that they think is going to give them what they need, but there's nobody who's looking at the bigger picture going, how does this all weave together? Where is the pattern? How am I showing up on social media? How am I showing up in email? How am I showing up in person? How am I showing up when I speak? The book I wrote, does it relate to everything I'm doing, right? There's nobody that's kind of looking at the top going, is this a breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Because I can't tell from the food that's on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that. So just to kind of bring it down back to the basics. So if I'm a brand new consultant, I've come out of corporate, and I want to consult now and offer my skills and knowledge and experience to other businesses. And I'm going to hang my shingle out, and maybe I've got a client or two already, so I've got some money coming in, but yet, as I think about growing this, I have no idea what to do in terms of marketing and sales. What
Right.
would your first few steps be? How would you suggest I move forward?
Well, I think the number one thing that we want to do is find out really what type of business they want to have.
Mm,
Right? Where, we wanna go back to the beginning. So, even that vision, mission, value, how do I wanna spend my day? What type of client do I wanna work with? Is a good place to start. How much money do I wanna make?
mhm.
Because now we can say, "All right, so these are the skill sets that you possess." And now what we have to do is package that. We have to figure out, in their opinion, what the client needs that works for them, not what they want the client to buy, right? They really have to be client centric.
Yeah.
So once we can figure that out, then I'd say, okay, well, what does that audience look like? And where is that audience? How do we, like, where do they hang out?
Mhm.
Um, what's the messaging? What's the problem we're solving? We have to start asking all of those type of questions to build something forward, but we kind of need to know where we want to go.
Yeah. I think that's such a great question because, a lot of solopreneurs, they start, but they haven't never really thought about where they're going. Do you want to just stay solo, have a nice, small stable of clients, make good money, but you're not like building to having a team and, international reach and such and such and such. So yeah, it's a great question, and sometimes we don't know the answer, and that's okay, but it's like, what do you know now?
Well, that's right. What do you know now is a great way to position it, because ultimately once you've worked with a couple of people that are not in your, well, maybe they're in your warm circle, right? Maybe they're people that they know you and they go, "Oh, I'd love you to help me with X." You might say, "You know what? I really don't want to be doing that," or "That's not my secret sauce," or "Wait a minute, I didn't know, like, I want to do this. I don't want to do everything else that's included." So they have to the entrepreneur has to be willing to be flexible, to be coachable.
Mm,
And the reason again, I'm a little bit of a marketing and a client getting snob. I will admit that, where people will say, no, you need the structure. No, you need the offer. I'm like, you need to get out there and start talking to people.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're talking to them on social media, from a stage, in person, through email, through cold DMs, you've got to start figuring out what's working. And
Mhm.
it's one of the things that we do is we do small that's why we like cold outreach because we can do small batch testing.
Hmm.
Well, nobody wanted, this freebie. We need to like what is the problem we're trying to solve? Nobody this messaging, this, the headline, right? Why is the subject matter not getting open, the email, why is it not getting opened? So, but if you're doing this on your own, right? Why they would hire somebody like us or somebody like you is
Mhm.
that they know it's a process and they know that process is going to have starts and stops. And they need to say, okay, well, that didn't work. Now what do we do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of clients, a lot of women that I talk to will get to that sticking point and they'll take it personally like, "Oh, this means I'm terrible at this. I can't do business. I probably should pack up and, get another job or whatever."
Right. Right.
But we have to remember it's an experimentation, right?
Right.
It's all about experimenting, and I think that's the beauty of networking and getting out and talking to actual humans and having that face-to-face feedback because, it allows you to deliver your message, deliver your offer, tell people what you do 100 different ways and see, what resonates with people. What do they understand? What do they
Right.
want? How,
And
yeah.
that's not your friend, and it's not your family, and, that's the challenge is that you have to be able to stand bold in a you have to look at somebody and go, "I really want to work with this person. So what do they need to hear that I can deliver authentically? What do they
Mhm.
need to know that will help them understand who I am?" Not I want to, just start talking away. It's why I don't like to ever be the first person to say what I do when I'm in a community because marketers are a little bit of a chameleons, right? We because if we're gonna say, "Oh, I create LinkedIn," and somebody's like, "Well, I only network in person," that doesn't mean we can't help them. It's we wanna be able to help give them value and tailor the conversation just and so sometimes not being the first person allows you to kinda read the room, if you will.
Yeah, no, I've heard that before, and I think that's such a great idea, and it really challenges your mind to be able to adjust to what other people are saying, and you can even use stories that they might tell or whatever to explain how you help people and what kind of work you do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, and that kind of veers off into sales. So tell me, in your opinion, how does sales and marketing differ?
Oh, yeah, I have a it to me, marketing is one-way communication designed to drive decision making. Plain
Mm,
and simple. I don't know what the AMA says or what some marketing expert says, but I'm a marketing expert and that's what I say. It is one way decision, communication designed to drive decision making. So all of the posts that you make, all the emails, every time you get up and do a 30-second at a networking event, when you're at a conference, it's really all to get somebody to turn around and go, I need to know more. Sales is a two-way conversation designed to help get to clarity, designed to help somebody understand at the core how you can help them specifically and whether they're a yes, a no, or a maybe, or a not maybe, but yes, no, or not now.
mhm, mhm.
We want clarity at the end of a sales conversation, where at the end of a marketing conversation, we want to know that we've brought them closer to sales or had them decide, "No, this is not for me."
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about how you work with your clients. And I know you have a new membership that you have launched and how that kind of fits into this marketing and sales conversation.
Yeah, so this came about kind of in a quirky way, but When we first started our business 5 years ago, we were providing marketing support, and we had a sales trainer who would come and work with our clients to give them the confidence to, take the sales calls as we were bringing people, getting appointments for them.
Mhm.
And what we found out is people who don't like to sell really don't want to be taught how to sell either. So we said, what we're going to do is we're going to take over the sales part. So we created a product called Closers on Demand, and we still offer that. It's for the coach or consultant who can't, don't, or won't take their own sales and really, needs that space freed up in their mind and time, off their calendar. We do it with other women that we've met over the years who we've sold with, during various contracts that we've been a part of.
Mhm.
So that's kind of fun. But we also realized that a lot of these people were doing their own marketing. And so the challenge with selling when you're not doing the marketing is that you don't really know who's going to end up on the other end of that Zoom or phone call. And so we expanded into lead gen. And then we said we had a lot of people who were like, I just really want to understand how to do it. And so the Grow Method Training Lab was created as a membership community, no contract, where you can come and you can learn the four pillars, which are strategy, content, a technical, how do you hobble this together, or what platform works best with this platform, when you're putting together those launch sequences or those funnels, if you will. And then the fourth pillar is the whole concept of implementation and tactic base. Let's put eyes
Mm.
on our business. Let's talk about it. Let's be in this mastermind format. So that's how it was created, to really help primarily female coaches and consultants get more comfortable, be in community, know they're not alone. So, like you said, when they get frustrated because they think it's them, we can say, "No, no, no, it's the platform. No, 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 it's the funnel. No, 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 it's," or, "Yes, you know what? You're stopping yourself."
Yeah.
So that's what was built. And well, we have 2 levels. We have an essential level, which is, all about community. And yes, there's eyes from Tammy and I on the business. And Tammy, by the way, has 40 years of marketing and business development as
Wow.
well, although all of it has been in the entrepreneurial space. So she really does understand strategy. She understands strategy better than I understand the tactical part of it, right? And then we have a elite model, a elite membership where you get additional one-on-ones with us.
Nice.
But it all starts in onboarding, because it is not a one size fits all, and we want to be able to channel you into the right direction. So
Mhm.
one of the things that we do include, whether you're at the elite or whether you're at the essential, is we include an extensive kind of, where are you? Where do you want to go? Why are you doing this? And why are you not doing this conversation? So we can
Yeah.
create a path that works for them.
Nice. I love that. So good.
Thank you.
So good. Well, it's been so great to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. And I can't wait till we get to sit down and have dinner again together in
Oh, yeah.
person. Our next event that we'll be at together. But so in the meantime, we want to keep in touch with you. Where's the best time? Where's the best place to keep up with what you're doing and follow you?
You're gonna have my name, right, on,
Yes.
somewhere. So here's the beautiful thing about a name like Abigail Tiefenthaler, there is only one of me. I am on LinkedIn, I am on Facebook, I am on Instagram, but, it'll take a while for me to get back to you. So Facebook and, LinkedIn, and savvysalesstrategy.com is our website. You can always reach us there. I think we actually even have contact information,
Yeah.
in all of those, on all of those platforms.
Yes, and we'll link all that up in our show notes. And because Tiefenthaler is not the easiest name to spell, but once you see it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, of course. So,
Yeah, it was a test on the second date. My husband was like, "Can you spell my name?" And I I think I failed. I can't remember, because you just, like, wanted to go Teefenthaler, like you miss some of the letters or something. I don't remember. It was 36 years ago, so a long time ago.
Well, at least you know how to spell it now. That's all that's
I
important.
do, I do, and my kids learned, we have 2 daughters that are now adults, and they learned how to spell it fine, so I guess if you're raised with it, it's a whole lot easier than when you're coming to it at age 28, right?
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Oh, Abigail, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you,
Oh,
and
thanks for having me, Melissa, I really appreciate it.
it's great to have you. We'll see you very soon. Okay.